The last rapture signal has begun. Do this to prepare. According to the Bible, we may currently be experiencing the end of days. The rapture won't happen unless certain prophecies are realized. Now that it's on the horizon, it might happen at any time. God's mercy and forgiveness are the only things keeping it at bay. The appearance of the last rapture sign has begun. That's a warning sign, right? In this video, we're going to tell you about the last rapture sign that has just started to appear. Let's dig into it. Missions, the heart of God. This good news about the kingdom will be preached through all the world as a witness to all people, and then the end will come. Matthew 24:14, Good News Translation. End Times Predictions. Many Christians throughout the centuries have predicted that the end times are near. Daring ones have even committed to certain dates. Not too long ago, for instance, radio preacher Harold Camping caused a stir when he predicted that the end of the world would occur in May 2011. When it didn't, Camping World moved the date up to October. By the way, in the past, he predicted that the end of the world would occur in the year 1994. Former NASA engineer Edgar Whisenant's best-selling book from 1988 projected that the rapture of believers would occur in September of that year. Pat Robertson, a former presidential candidate, said it would happen in 1982. According to the Jehovah's Witnesses' most recent predictions, the end of time as we know it occurred in 1975. The founder of the Worldwide Church of God, Herbert W. Armstrong, claimed the end of the world would occur in 1972. Those forecasts were completely off the mark. Almost anyone claiming to have a certain date in mind seems to consider Matthew 24:14. Wars, growing depravity, and natural disasters are common focal points for those who speculate about the timing of the end times. Extreme weather events, the spread of deadly pathogens, widespread hunger and drought, and rising tensions between countries are all discussed. Matthew 24 and the end of times. Jesus' statement that the final sign of the end times is the proclamation of the gospel to all people in Matthew 24:14 is hardly ever cited. Matthew 24:14 raises the question, what does it foresee? Does that imply preaching the gospel to every person and every country on the planet? In Matthew 24:14, the word translated as people is plural and might also be interpreted as peoples. This interpretation of Matthew 24:14 suggests that a Christian testimony among all peoples and cultures is necessary. Whatever the goal, significant progress has been made toward achieving it. More people than ever before are hearing the gospel of Jesus Christ preached. There is still a long way to go, though. Among at least 5,000 different people groups, there are no active church planting movements. Many of the things that people point to as signs of the end of the world are just excuses for panic. This is the exact reverse of what should happen, according to the sign Jesus mentioned in Matthew 24:14. As we draw closer to the end of days, it's wonderful to think that everyone will finally be able to hear the good news. If what is written in Matthew 24:14 is accurate, then sharing the gospel with everyone is not a choice, but a command. This must be finished. What is the message of Matthew 24:14? An important topic of discussion among Christians is whether or not recent events fulfill biblical prophecies. A lot of Christians are enthusiastic about trying to convert people to unreachable parts of the world. How far apart do you see this pair of passionate groups? For whatever reason, Christians typically see the little link between discussing prophecy and future events and discussing missions, as the former director of the U.S. Center for World Mission, Ralph Winter, has noted. Winter 1. To put it bluntly, after the 1966 Congress on the Church's Worldwide Mission in Wheaton, Illinois, Arthur Glasser stated, "Books galore are being produced on being delivered from the tribulation, but nothing important on the relation between Christ's return and the Church's worldwide mission." Glasser 2. Do you need further evidence that these two men are complaining? The pages of the timeless bestseller, The Late Great Planet Earth, have all the answers you seek. Despite the book's widespread success, author Hal Lindsey avoided discussing missions or the worldwide proclamation of the gospel. Is there a link between the current push to evangelize the world and plant churches among all people groups and the return of Christ? Maybe it's possible. Although there is nothing written on how the end times relate to the church's efforts to carry out the Great Commission, this does not mean that we are venturing out on thin ground by making this connection. There is a strong and scriptural link between the end of the world and the spread of the gospel over the globe. The links are so strong that Swiss Lutheran theologian Kuhlmann has stated, "The preaching of the gospel as an eschatological sign is not a peripheral occurrence." Kuhlmann 49. Jesus' teaching on the Mount of Olives, often known as the Olivet Discourse, provides one of the most direct links between global evangelism and eschatology in the Bible. Matthew 24, Mark 13. The group following Jesus was eager to learn about the future and was looking for specifics. When the disciples came to see Jesus, they questioned him, "Teacher, what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" Jesus continues his reply by describing the prevailing religious and international conditions and natural disasters that will occur, including famines, wars, earthquakes, false prophets, and apostasy. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached throughout the world as a witness to all nations, Jesus says, shifting the emphasis from bad news to a decisive and positive sign. Matthew 24:14. If we believe that the prophecy is being fulfilled right now, which may be the most likely interpretation, then we must consider whether the missionary work of the church is only a foreshadowing of the parousia, or the completion of all things. Is the church finished with its work when we see Christ's return? If this is the case, might we infer that the actions of Christ's disciples affect when he returns? This one verse from Matthew's Gospel makes it abundantly apparent that the end of the world is not a show. The key to success in any endeavor is active participation, and it is only through such participation that one can expect to achieve their objective. One could wonder how urgent Matthew 24:14 is at this moment. Is this just a basic prediction or something more? Or is it more like an imperative in nature? Last major indications. While we shouldn't take some trends in the late 20th century as portents of the end of the world, they do present a setting in which the book of Revelation can be taken at face value. The book of Revelation, for instance, describes the unexpected annihilation of millions of people. Now we have the technology to accomplish what was impossible with swords, arrows, and other weapons of the past. To begin with, the book of Revelation assumes the existence of a global network of communication. In Revelation 11:5, the Bible predicts that after the two witnesses are slaughtered, everyone on earth will mourn over their bodies. A lot of translators have used that phrase to explain that CNN and global news networks are broadcasting from satellite TV. Most literalist prophetic readers of Revelation, who assume it refers to the not-too-distant future, would point to the atomic bomb and the hydrogen bomb as the technologies that enabled this kind of mass destruction and death tolls described in the book. There's a lot of talk about the possibility of an asteroid impacting Earth right now, a world-ruling geopolitical power, or force with access to worldwide communications networks. Unfortunately, the events that, according to a strict interpretation of the text, are required to trigger the end of the world are not now on the horizon. The stage is now set, as these translators will have a firm grasp of the global situation. Israel, in other words, is a real country. Indeed, Jerusalem is under Israeli rule. This means that alternative outcomes are possible. There are essentially three things that ought to occur, but none of them have. A third temple must be constructed in Jerusalem. A military dictator must arise in the north, possibly in Europe, invade the Middle East, and impose a global religious system on the rest of the world. Not even close to that has transpired. In addition, the biblical accounts of droughts and plagues during the times of Moses and Elijah require the appearance of these two prophetic figures speaking on God's behalf. None of it has happened, and until it does, interpretation can't truly begin. It's as if you're anticipating something, wondering if it's possible, and waiting for it to happen. On the other hand, you may feel like nothing is happening on stage. Everything is in its proper place, yet the action has only just begun. This ends the video for today. What do you think about the different prophecies about rapture? Let us know in the comment section. Also, tell us on which topic we should make our next video. Like and share this video. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you in the next video.